welcome to another episode of Cultivate and Keep. My name is Corey, and we also have Jeremy here. Say hello.
Yo, what's up?
Yo, what's good? We got another episode, another cool topic for you. Really quickly, though, we will just quickly announce, also remind you that we have our cultivateandkeep.com/favorites page. Just encourage you guys to check that out. We have new books, podcasts, websites, things we're finding all the time that I think will be really profitable for you. So check that out. Otherwise, you're ready to get into today's talk?
Not yet.
No?
A few more announcements.
Oh.
Repeats. But we have a new Patreon supporter I wanted
That's
to
right.
share. Kevin Miller coming in with the big guns.
Kevin. Shout out to Kevin.
So if you guys don't know, Patreon is a way you guys can support us. So if you're interested in that, you can go to cultivateandkeep.com/support. And if you want to donate to us monthly or one time, you can do that. And then, one more.
Oh,
We got to get Jocko Willink on
Yeah,
this
we do.
podcast. We're close, okay? So do us a favor. Go to Twitter. How do you know how to phrase this, Corey? Do you tweet at him? Like, what's it called?
yeah, you tweet at him.
Okay.
Or you
Yeah.
can go to Instagram, whichever you'd like.
Sorry, I'm a newbie to the Twitter world. But tweet at Jocko. I sound
Yeah.
so hip saying that.
Whatever you do, tag him.
Tag him.
Yeah.
That's the
Instagram or Twitter, just get his handle in there. Whether it's your story, just put it on your Instagram story or tweet at him.
And say, hey, we want to hear you on the Cultivate and Keep podcast.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Our boys Jeremy and Corey want to talk to you.
Little
Also here in
backstory.
San Diego.
I said this in the last episode, but my wife, Connie, ran into him at the airport in New York when she was flying home a couple weeks ago. And she was talking to him and kind of told him that we have a little podcast, and he said he would come on it. So I'm sure he was just being nice to her, but we want to bug him.
But he's a genuine guy. You know
we wanna
what?
bug
I
him
met
and-
him in Boston in September.
when you were being a fanboy.
Yeah, and I was being a fanboy. But he's super nice, super genuine. Was like the best speaker that they had at the conference. Was really attentive to all the guests. Stayed and talked to everyone. Really nice guy. So we really want to have him on because I know he's a
I
legit
think
guy.
it's a possibility. So anyway, you guys can help. So
Help us out.
besides that, I think we are ready to go.
Cool.
So I've been thinking recently about making decisions and kind of what does it look to have forward movement in life and have progress. And if you know me, you know that I've always struggled with making decisions. It's always been hard for me. I think that I've, for the most part, have made good decisions, but I have a hard time with doing it quickly. I tend to just drag stuff out. If I know I have to make a choice soon, I will do everything I can to put it off or to avoid it. And I've been this way my whole life with big and small choices. Everything I just tend to push off and then drag it out. And recently, I feel I have been improving a lot, and I've been thankful. I've been excited about that. And I think overall, it's just been easier for me. There was a while ago where I would get anxious thinking about decisions, and I would do everything I could to avoid it. And now it's I would say this is still a struggle for me. I have by no means mastered or overcome this.
Right.
But I feel it's I kind of almost enjoy decisions now. I think a while ago I didn't, and now it's kind of exciting. It's new, and I think I recognize it as opportunity rather than dreading what could go wrong.
Yeah, forcing I have to do this as a chore. So what kind of decisions are we talking about?
Well, that's a good point. So I mean, I'm going to talk more about big decisions in life, career changes or stuff like that, kind of just big picture, life altering decisions. But I do want to say, dude, for a long time, I hated every type of decision. Where am I going to go to lunch today?
Yeah.
What am I going to wear? Should I, dude, everything's small. Today it happened to me. What was I doing? I can't remember what it was, but I was trying to decide something super small, along those lines today, and I debated about it for 2 or 3 minutes in my head, which is way too long. Over lunch, come on, just decide, right? And so that's where I come from. That's definitely where I'm at, of coming from this background of every type of decision, I hate it.
Interesting. So I feel a lot of that. I don't know. Why do you think that you struggled with it for a long time?
I honestly have I really have no idea. I don't think I can pin it. And we talked about last year. We talked about anxiety a little bit, and I shared kind of my experiences with that.
Yeah, that's right.
I feel with that topic, because I feel anxiety and decisions kind of tie in. At least with me they do. Before, I think I hated decisions because it would make me anxious. And I feel like with anxiety, I can like pinpoint like why that is and like where it comes from in my life. But with decisions, like I don't know, to be honest. I think for a long time I didn't like change, and I liked things to be really consistent and routine. And so I think like a decision or a choice meant like something new, and
Right.
I think that's why I didn't like it.
Yeah, I feel like for me, a part of the anxiety I get about decisions, and I feel like it hasn't been like the biggest struggle for me, but it's just kind of like the weight of like the fear of missing out, or like what
Mm-hmm.
I mean, am I making the right decision? Like, am I choosing the right direction? Like, will I regret this? Is kind of like the thing that always comes back to me is like, um, if I choose this and I don't choose this, like, what am I going to think, a year later? Or like, am I going to really like think that I was dumb, or like really kind of dread that I made this decision? And then I think maybe it comes from like, after you make a couple wrong decisions, then you kind of start to question yourself and you like don't want to experience that again.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I feel like, I don't know. It's hard to be like, when I think of like a very decisive person, like I think of someone who like isn't afraid to just make a decision no matter what the consequence is. You know what I mean? Like just based off of kind of your gut feel. But there's definitely some things that come with being very decisive. Like you don't just choose like randomly. You know what I mean? Like you're not just like, all right, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Like you want to have like a good process behind that.
Yeah. I think if I had to pinpoint where it came from, I think I think back when I was younger, I remember this time I was in like a situation that was like super super like uncomfortable for me. Like I didn't want to be there, and I was kind of like forced into it. And it was like kind of one of those things where it was like, dude, if I could redo this, I would do everything I could to not be in that position again.
Mm.
And I think I like now like how I could relate it is like I think of a decision. I think, man, like if this goes wrong, or if this like is not what I intend for it to be, like then I'm back in that spot of being like where I don't want to be, and I'm stuck there. It's kind of
Yeah.
what my mind goes to. Even like as small as where to go to lunch today. Well, what if I go get this food and I hate it and it's disgusting, it's nasty? Well, so what? Then like move on, right?
Right.
But in my mind, it's like, oh no, it's so many more. I could get sick. I could, all these things kind of go in my head, right?
Mm.
Big decisions like a career change or whatever, like bigger, like those. You can't, like, how do I say this? Like, you have a bad lunch, you get past it. If you get into a bad job, like, well, that might put you in like a really hard position, And so I
Yeah.
think that is kind of like that. It's rooted in fear, really. It's rooted in like an insecurity and a fear of like this. If this goes wrong, then I can't get out of it. And I think I'm going to talk about kind of today of like where I've come in that journey, but that's kind of what it's rooted in, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And it's funny you mentioned like what's the worst that could happen, because I feel like I was ready to talk about like that's like a tool. I mean, I think it still is, but I was ready to say like that's a good tool to be more decisive. It's just to say like what is the worst that can happen.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe for a lot of people, like that's kind of like the trigger. Then they're like going in their thing in their head, thinking like, okay, well, like I said, like I could get food poisoning, or like I end up hating it. It's disgusting, or I spend more money than I thought, or like I don't like what I got, and then I go somewhere else, and then I have to spend twice as much money, or so it's a good kind of counterpoint. But I think also on the flip side, like if you think what's the worst that can happen, and it's really not that bad. Like then it encourages you to be more. If it's like, do I want Chipotle today, or do I want Chick-fil-A? They're right next to each other. I like them both. I know I'm going to like both of them. Which one do I choose?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's the worst that can happen? Like you're going to like both of them. So just pick one. And like that gives you a little bit of practice and a little bit of kind of momentum and being more decisive.
Yeah. Well, I wrote down a few thoughts of kind of like what I've been doing recently.
Yeah.
So I want to
What do you do?
Well, I kind of broke it out like small versus like big decisions, because we talked about the example of like where to have lunch, or
Right.
like bigger deal stuff. So with like small decisions, what I've been doing recently is like simply like if I have a choice to make a decision or not to do it, like I make the decision. Like basically, I'm trying to make more choices. Basically, is kind of what I would say.
Yeah.
Like do it more often. And I think like the more I do something, the more I do something, the better I will get at it. And if I always like put it off, then it's kind of always going to be an issue. And so now I feel like I'm kind of looking for opportunity to make a choice, whether it's like in like small scenarios, right?
Yeah.
Like more recently with me and Connie, so she is like a bit more opinionated than I am, and a little stronger willed than I am. And so it's easy for us, like, oh, like where do you want to go for dinner? Or where do you want to like do today? Whatever. For me to be like, oh, like, whatever you want. I kind of just go with the flow. more recently she's been saying like, no, like you pick. And small stuff like that has really helped me, honestly, because it's like,
Yeah.
all right, I will make a decision. And so that's one of the ways, simply like looking for ways to make more decisions and like not walking away or hiding from it, but like facing it.
Right. And especially with like small stuff,
Yeah,
right?
small
Kind of
stuff.
like work up to
Because you
like
can
the
only
big
make
set
so many
things.
big decisions, but
Yeah.
like with small things, yeah, like I'm basically like looking for opportunity to do it.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, one of the things I was thinking about too is how I think that a lot of people get decision fatigue a little bit, because you have to be careful, because if you spend all morning figuring out what to wear and where you're going to go, and then like you spend the first I feel like it's always like the best kind of illustration, but like, you know how you open Netflix and you're like, okay, what are we going to watch tonight? And then you start like scrolling through, and then an hour later you still haven't found anything. And you're like,
almost always me.
yeah, exactly. But you know, like you're just like tired by the end of it, and like I think
you don't even want to watch the movie after.
yeah, exactly. Like mentally, I think all of us have like a kind of like a feeling like a battery. You know, we only have so much capacity for making decisions. And so you want to make decisions, like you want to be very decisive about small things and like things that maybe don't matter as much, so that you have more decision power for things that really do matter, and that you do need to make the right choice.
Yeah, I think that's good. Another point I had in my head was thinking, like do the best you can to like automate like aspects of your life, like what to wear or like stuff like that. Like one thing I try to do is like if like I try to lay out my clothes the night before, if like what I'm going to be wearing. That way it's like I wake up, like get, shower, get dressed, go, versus like shower, what should I wear today? So anything like small like that, just try to like automate it, kind of get it like ready. That's been helpful to me, because you're right, like small things do kind of like wear on you.
Yeah, so I was feeling, I mean, I have to make, I think everyone does, but I have to make a lot of decisions for work, of like, even as small as like, what am I going to do today? Because I have a whole list of things that I could do, but it's like, where do I really spend my time this month that's going to make an impact? Yeah, like right now. And so one of the things that was, I just like felt it kind of dragging down on me was actually lunch, because I work from home. And so it's not like I can just go grab something. I mean, I could, but since I work from home, I have a great opportunity to make lunch and something that's healthier, and, to actually make it myself, and it's a lot cheaper. But I always felt like, I was dreading just, what am I going to make? Like, there's so many different options. I have to go check what's in the fridge, what's in the pantry. Like, what are the things that, like, do I have all the ingredients for the thing that I might want to make? Or, and then I just decided, like, no, these are the three things that I'm going to have for lunch. I'm going to have stuff ready.
I got it.
Okay,
it's an egg and toast and sausage.
Yep.
That's one
That's
meal.
one of them.
Tuna sandwich.
Yep. That's
salad. Boom.
Yep. That's it.
That's Corey's big three.
That's right. So now every day it's going to be one of those three. And I just have to decide between those three, instead of whatever, I don't know, hundreds of things that I could go buy or go get or go make or put together. And it makes it a lot easier. And that way I have more decision power for the things that really matter. Like, I don't know, like, who are we going to partner with, or how are we going to grow this month, or, other things that have a lot more weight and actually do matter in the end, which one I decide to do.
Yeah, that's super good. I think that's like a nitty gritty detail that like people might think, why are we talking about like your lunch? But I think like the more you can recognize like stuff like that you can just kind of identify like the options and then narrow it down. Like it makes overall, like I think your life more simple and easier.
Well, this was just really quickly. This is another cliche example, but Steve Jobs was, he was really kind of famous, infamous, I don't know which one it was, but for wearing this exact same thing every single day. So he wore the black turtleneck with his Levi, jeans and white, I don't know, they're like New Balances, like Costco Classics, whatever they were. But it was the exact same thing every day. And he did that very intentionally because he didn't want to have to think about, what am I going to wear today, when he's running Apple, what I mean, like one of the most successful companies ever. And he has to make hundreds of tiny but also really significant decisions every single day. So if you're feeling kind of fatigued, that's one of the good ways you can reduce that fatigue and give yourself more capacity. Yeah. Or even if it's like, obviously we don't all want to wear this exact same thing every single day, but figure out the night before, when it's a little bit easier or funner, you can lay it out. And then that way you don't have to wake up and figure it out. Yeah. It's one less thing you have to do for that day.
Yeah. Another thing I've been like trying to do is like looking back and like thinking through and like reflecting on decisions that I have made, like the good ones, like recognizing like. I think for me, I said earlier, like before I would look at a choice and I would think, man, like this has changed, this is something new, this is going to be hard. And I think now I'm seeing it as more as like opportunity, because I can look back and look through all like the recent choices I have made, and I can see like the good that's come from that and the progress. And so I think just trying to recognize that, trying to see like the good that can come from decisions, like it can mean progress, and it can mean like advancing and just new and good stuff. And so that's what I've been doing, and it's been helpful. Like, oh man, like I have been making good choices. I have been doing better in this area, and it's been encouraging to me.
Where do you like keep that, or like go to look back on it?
Yeah, well, we talked about recently, like I've been doing journaling a lot, and that's been helping me. So like, I want to be clear, I don't keep a journal or like a record of my small decisions. So
Dear
I'm
diary,
like
today I made a decision. I chose to go to Chick-fil-A. Yay me.
I thought of another joke, but this probably should be under like the big decisions category. But I just journal my thoughts and kind of what's going on in my life. And
so you'll literally just flip back through the pages.
Yeah, kind of look through it. Yeah,
kind of skim over things. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, that's a good one. Never would have thought about that.
So for like bigger decisions, kind of what I've been doing more. The first thing is kind of funny. I put this probably isn't really for me. This might be to help someone else, but I put to slow down and think it through. I have no problem doing that. I probably do it too much. I like really slow down. But yeah, so I would say like, slow down, like think it through. And then I said like write down your thoughts, like what kind of goes through your head, like write it down. I have found like this is probably the best way I have like improved in making decisions is I just make a list. Like I found that I have like a lot going on in my head, like a lot of thoughts, a lot of changing emotions. And so if I have like a decision to make, I will like pick a page or whatever, and I'll write down every like thought or idea under that like topic. And when I get it all on paper or like on a computer or whatever, when I get it written down, it helps me to like really like look at it as a whole. And I have found like there's been times where I've been like daunted by like a big task or like a big move or choice. And when I write it down, I'm like, oh, dude, this is like totally doable. Like this is really like I can do this. And
or maybe it's more clear like what to decide.
It's very clear. And it's I think just like seeing it on paper, like I can like put together kind of like the order of like operations of like what to do. So I think writing it down is huge. Like if you don't write things down like of what to do, like it's all in your head and your mind gets clouded and it becomes overwhelming and daunting. And so like for me, that's been like the biggest like benefit is just writing my thoughts down.
Yeah, that's a good one. I feel like this is a really underrated point.
That's what I was gonna say. We know this. Like this isn't like new information.
Yeah.
But like I find myself not doing it a lot, and when I do it, it's so helpful.
But especially for things that maybe even seem like a really obvious decision. I would just remind me of when back in November when I was interviewing with Barometrics, and obviously I wanted the job and I applied for the job, and for a few months, we were talking back and forth, and it was something I was really excited about. But then when I actually got offered the job, I was like very intentional about kind of slowing down and not accepting it right away. So I told him like, hey, this is, right in the middle of, Thanksgiving was right around the corner. My dad had just passed away. Like I had just taken a week off, and like, I wanted to just say yes right away, like just kind of get it over with. And, I wanted to accept it before, I don't know, something happened. Like he was like, psych, we have someone else, or sorry, it's too late. But I forced myself to tell him, hey, like, can I take, a week, or can I get back to you next Friday, and just think it through, just make sure, just, dot my I's, cross my T's. So I think it's good. Like, I think there's a lot of things that maybe seem like they're very obvious decisions. This is kind of a dichotomy from earlier. We were talking about like being very decisive, but especially when it's a good thing, like slow down a little bit and just, allow it to kind of mull over, and just allow yourself to think through it, and, make a list and write down your thoughts, and just kind of go through everything before you really, say yes, or before you really make the decision.
Yeah. I think that, I guess it depends like where you come at this with, if you're someone that you make decisions too quickly and it's easy for you, then yeah, definitely slow down, like be more like methodical about it. If you're someone like me that's like you tend to kind of shy away from decisions, well, make a list, write out the pros and cons, like write it all down on paper, and then like go through it.
Yeah, but don't just procrastinate. Or just don't put it off.
Yeah, well, I found like writing it down like it almost turns it into like a to-do list in a sense. Like, okay, now
Mm.
it's on paper. Like, now, like, I know what has to get done, or what are the options, and then I can go do it. So for me, that's been like, dude, night and day, like, super
Yeah,
helpful.
that's a good one.
Another one I said, again, like an obvious one, but I said, like, submit yourself to someone who has more life experience than you. Whether like a mentor, or like an older friend, or someone that you respect, and like, simply just like do what they say. Like, that's kind of what I was thinking. Like, I think a lot of us have like mentors or people we go to, and we just maybe we bounce ideas off them, and that's kind of like the extent of it. But like, dude, like, do what they say. Like, if they give you advice,
Right.
then do it. Like, don't just like hear and go, okay, and then do your own thing. Like, what's the point? Like, find someone you like really respect, and then like I said, just simply do what they say. And so, like, recently I've been doing that, and I feel like it's been paying off so far. So,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
I want to clarify, not just like blindly do what they say,
Right.
but I think it's important to like kind of narrow down like who are the ones that you go to, and I think you should pick one or two guys or girls that like this is kind of like someone you're giving them authority like over your life in a sense, and you're giving them permission to speak to you, and you're gonna follow basically, and I think if you can identify someone like that, then yeah, follow their advice and do it.
Yeah, I think the key there too is to find someone. You said to someone who has more life experience, but especially like with the thing that you're struggling with too. Like,
point.
I wouldn't go to my single counselor about my marriage because he's not married, and
Yeah.
or he has
Exactly.
never been married, or like I also wouldn't go to I don't know, my friend for like career advice because she's never been in my career. Like, I would want to go to someone who has been in those shoes, or has taken that step, or has been even in this industry, or maybe just knows kind of business more, kind of it, or whatever, like, but like, I wouldn't also take like business advice from your pastor. I mean, he could tell you like, I'll pray for you, or maybe give you some good insight based on past experience. But like, I think you get the idea. Like, figure out who is the best to help you with this decision, and then trust them with their insight.
Yeah. I put this one down 'cause I was thinking like, I didn't say like pick like your mentor. I said like someone with more life experience than you.
Right.
Because like you just said, I think it's kind of broken out into categories. I don't think it's like one mentor for every area of life. I think you should have like a business mentor and like a, maybe like a marriage mentor. I don't know, like just different areas. And I think, anyway, I wrote it down because I think it's easy to like have a mentor or have someone you go to, but then like to just not have any action with it. I just think like it's important, like, again, like, dude, narrow it down to a few people you highly respect, and like follow their advice. And like, there's a reason why, like, if that person is successful, there's a reason why they are. And
well, and it's encouraging to know like, I'm not the first one to go through this or to make this decision, and like someone else has literally done the exact same thing. Well, great. Like, that's like a cheat code for life. Maybe I can just go ask them what they did and how they would go about it differently, or like what advice they have for me. Well, fantastic. Like, I don't have to do this alone. I don't have to just, guess or try to figure it out. I can go to someone else who has a lot more insight.
Yeah, I think I think that verse in Proverbs, I think it's something like there's wisdom or in the abundance of counselors, or there's peace in the abundance of counselors.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking like recently when I've gone to someone and like followed what they say, like, I feel like I have like just so much peace surrounding me, like, when I do that. I think a big reason why I didn't like decisions before was that I would like have no peace, and I would be like super stressed out and like worried. And I think now, like, dude, if you find someone to like submit under and follow their guidance, then like, dude, you are most of the time filled with peace. Like, I found myself just being so peaceful when I've made new decisions. So it's been super helpful.
That's a good one.
Another one I put, and Corey, this is a shout to you, bro.
Shout out to me.
I said include close friends, like, in like the process, right? And again, I'm talking under like big choices. Like, include people that you are, because I think you need to have like, obviously like someone you go to who's ahead of you in life, but also like just your friends, your peers that know you well. Like, include them on the process. And I think like it's important to like limit the size of that like circle you have, and not just like every friend you have, but pick one or two or three or four just close friends and include them and say, hey, like, here's my thoughts of what's going on, here's like the pros, the cons, like the good, the bad, the ugly, and what do you think? And I kind of pick their brain. I've been doing that recently with you, and it's been helpful, dude, like super helpful to me. I often will call Corey in the middle of the day, hey bro, can you talk to him? Like, yeah. And we'll talk for 30 minutes to an hour, and it's helpful to me. It helps me to like process. And if you don't have like a friend like that, like, find someone, because that's good for you to do. It can be Oh, I think it's like a form of accountability. Like if I come to Corey, hey, do you like have this idea? What do you think? And he gives me his thoughts. And I take an hour of his time. The next day, I have a whole new idea. He's probably like, dude, what the heck? Like, beacons.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think it's accountability, but also, I think it's just like it's good to loop people in. I think it's helpful, and it can help you process. So
Yeah. And pick people who aren't just going to tell you what you want to hear. You know what I mean? Like, it's funny. I started reading a little bit of this book called The Mom Test.
The mom test.
The Mom Test. Yeah. And it's about kind of like finding and validating business ideas. Because if you go to your mom and you're like, hey, mom, I have this idea for, the next Facebook. She's going to be like, awesome. Like, go on, do it. That's the best idea ever. When in reality, it might be a really stupid idea and like it's never going to go anywhere. But there might be a tendency too to like, I'm just going to go talk to and ask the people who I think are going to kind of tell me where I'm leaning towards.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, find people, like have a really tight inner circle of people who are going to challenge you when it's necessary and who are going to tell you if you're wrong or who are going to give you a different perspective or maybe not get it right away or going to need some more explanation. But, have the right people who aren't just going to say yes. Like you don't, the point of it isn't just to go like bounce an idea off of them and then be like, cool, thumbs up. Like, that's awesome.
Well, like, what's the point in that? Like,
yeah,
you
you want to find people who are going to like really think it through with you and are really going to be objective and unbiased and be another brain for you. Like not just, you have to get outside of your own head.
Yeah. Good. The last one I put down, I don't have like a ton of experience with this one yet, but I feel like I want to get there, but I think just like not being afraid to fail, like not being afraid to make a bad decision, I think like if you can try to like focus more on like attempting stuff and like trying new things rather than focusing on like the result of that, like that, I think that'll further you in life. And I think like for me, it's so easy when I think of a choice, I think of like the outcome. And I think, I don't know, just the more I can focus on like attempting and trying and putting out effort rather than like the result, like that's going to further me and I'll do better. So
yeah,
I don't feel like I'm there yet. I feel like I'm definitely like trumped more by the outcome right now. Like I want to get to a spot to where like I'm not afraid to try something new,
In other words, like not being afraid to make a decision, knowing that I might not be like the best or the right decision or like
it may not be the outcome I wanted. Like, let's say I decide, hey, I'm going to go pursue this new career because it's a better opportunity and it's what I think I want, right? I go get that job, I do it, and let's say I don't do well at it and I fail, and in 6 months they let me go, I have to find a new job. Well, like if I fast forward 6 months, like I probably wouldn't like regret that decision. Like I might in the moment, but I think in a grand scheme of life, like I will learn from that and it will make me better. And so that's kind of what I mean. Like don't shy away from opportunity because you're afraid to fail. Like just go do it, basically.
Yeah,
definitely. If it's like within parameters of guidance and counsel and all that. But
something I always think about is like there's always kind of two parts of it, which is like what's the worst that can happen, which is kind of like, it channels your inner pessimism and you have to kind of get really realistic and objective. But then also think about what's the best that could happen. Like what's the best outcome from this? And especially when you're deciding between two things, you might find that, one, the worst case is like, you were there for 6 months and then you get let go and you have to go find a new job. Just like, that sucks. You didn't do it that well. It's a blow to the ego. You have to find a new career. But it's not the end of the world. But maybe the best case is that you really exceed and you get promoted. It's great. Maybe with the other job, the worst case is, you get fired after 3 months. And I don't know, it takes a blow, or you moved somewhere for it and have to move back or find a place to live. And maybe the outcome isn't as great. Maybe it's like you do well, but not that much, better than you would have before. Well, now it gives you a little bit more perspective about like, which one has less risk and more reward, and which one, has more risk and less reward. It's kind of how I always think about it. And I think most things, like you want to kind of push yourself to go for like the best case outcome. Like you said, without thinking about like what's the worst that could happen. And, you want to challenge yourself to just kind of push yourself and to go for things that you don't think are possible or that you don't think are realistic or maybe a little bit scary. I remember like actually with barometrics too, one of the kind of helpful things for me was doing that exact exercise of, if I stay where I'm at, the worst thing that could happen is that, I stay there, not super happy or challenged for another few months or a few years or whatever it is. And then, it's not so bad. The best case scenario is I get promoted and I get, kind of a new responsibility and it's better.
Mm-hmm.
With barometrics, it was, the worst case is I'm there for 6 months to a year. I don't like it. I don't do that great. And I find a new job. The best case scenario is I love it and I excel and I learn a ton. And, it could be like a really kind of career changing, shot for me that gives me a lot of momentum upward in the right direction. And then it really became obvious, like, this is the thing that I need to do. Like, this is, I definitely want to optimize for that outcome. And because really the worst that can happen is not that bad.
Yeah, I think, like your point too, like every decision is going to have like the worst case and the best case scenario. And I think, like if you build a fence around like, okay, any opportunity that seems to have like a, really big, really big worst case, like if you build a fence around those ones, and then that means with those decisions you don't move forward, like, well, you're going to miss out on so many potential like good opportunities. And so, kind of like you said, like, it's acknowledging both, and then like recognizing they're both going to have like both sides, and then like if it makes sense, then do it. And I just feel like I brought that point up because I think it's easy to be held back by fear of the results. And I think like if you can identify this as a good decision and there's more like weight on the good side, then go for it and don't focus on the negative. And if you fail, like that is okay. You can recover. And I think the idea of failing is like, it's so daunting and it's so like, oh man, my whole life is in shambles. And I think the reality is like it's just not, like in most scenarios, like it's not,
Yeah.
And so
I think maybe there's a little bit more, like too much focus on like, oh dang it, I just lost my train of thought a little bit. It's a little bit too focused on, oh dang it, I really just lost it.
That's the worst.
I was going to go on, wow, I have a really good point. Just give me 1 second to think about it. It was about the worst case scenario. No, the best case. The worst that can happen. Oh, which one would you regret more?
Yeah.
So like I think we focus on like I don't want to regret doing this decision, but which one would you regret not doing?
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably the thing that you should do. If I stay, for example, like a job, if you're kind of okay at your job and you're kind of not happy but not unhappy there, and you had a great new career opportunity, would you really regret not taking it and like not knowing, what would happen or how things could be different? Or would you not regret more staying there?
Yeah.
And it's like you want to, optimize for what you would really regret not doing.
Well, yeah, you take a choice like that. You think of like your career and think of like those around you, like in your workspace, whether they are competitors or coworkers. You kind of think of it as like a grid, like a race. Everyone's moving, everyone's going forward. And if like at some point you for some reason stop and you say, you know what, I'm staying here, I'm not gonna go to the next opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, it's like everyone else keeps going and you stopped, and so it's like then what? Like you, in a sense, like can fall behind. And I think you have to look at it like that, especially if it's like a career move or like something like that opportunity. Like someone's gonna take that if you don't. And I think you have to look at that and think, man, like okay, if they're moving forward, then I got to keep moving as well.
Yeah, and a big part of it too. I mean, I don't know. I feel like that could be easily kind of misconstrued into like follow your heart or like just do whatever you feel like the most strongly
that's
towards.
What I'm saying, Corey.
Yeah, just exactly.
Just
be more decisive. Just follow your heart.
Well, no, we're talking in context with like thinking through and having counsel on these opportunities. And I'm not saying like, hey, it comes up, everyone else is making moves, like you make a move too. Like no, like if this is something you thought through and weighed out and got counsel and had it, talked it through and thought it through, and if it's good, don't let fear hold you back. Is kind of what I'm trying to say. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, but let's take like an example, like moving to another city or another state, for example. Let's say that maybe you're not happy with kind of where you are, or it's too expensive. Like let's take San Diego specifically. Okay, let's say that I'm considering moving away because it's really expensive here, and we're never going to be able to buy a house, and we don't.
Are you moving, Corey?
I don't know, maybe. And we're not going to be able to, I don't know, live like the life that we want to with a big house and a big yard for all of our kids and dogs. Okay, for example. So we're trying to decide if we're going to move or not. then you would want to think about, like, would I really regret not moving and, not experiencing a new city or having a new place or something that's lower cost of living, or maybe the thing that I do, or would I really not regret staying here because this is where my family is and this is what I've known my whole life, and I know the city, and I love it. When you put it in that perspective, right, it gives you a little bit more perspective of instead of like, would I really regret moving or would I really regret staying? It doesn't really help you that much. But think about which one you would regret not doing gives a little bit more perspective.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, I mean, that was pretty much all that I wanted to talk about. I think that I bring this up because, like, for me personally, I'm going through like a opportunity right now in front of me, and so I've had to decide like what to do, and I'm not ready to share it yet. But I just I don't know. I feel like for me recently, like my life has the last year has been like probably a year and a half. It's just been like decision after decision after choice after, hard to say that. A lot of choices to make, and I think I kind of thought there was gonna be a point in my life to where I would go through that season of making choices, and then it would calm down. Kind of what I'm finding is it's just like it's not stopping. Like there's always gonna be a new opportunity or new like choices to make, and so I don't know. I wanted to like share this, and hopefully it's encouraging or hopeful to you if you find yourself not liking choices. Like you can get better, you can improve. Like I thought I thought I would never get better, and I do find myself improving. Again, I'm not where I want to be, but I feel like it's so much better, and so I hope that's encouraging.
Yeah.
And it's kind of
I mean, I think if anything, like the moral of this is like have at least some sort of process or criteria for making decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Don't rely on yourself. Don't rely on your gut. Don't put it off. Don't wait for someone else to make the decision for you. Right? Have something in mind. I mean, these are all really good points about take it slow. Like write it all down. Think about which one you would regret not doing. Have wise counsel of people who have gone and done this same thing before you. Have the wise counsel of friends and family who can give you insight. And like those are all kind of.
Oh, I have one more, dude. I can't believe I forgot this one.
Okay,
probably the most important one, dude. I don't know how I forgot this.
I think I know what you're gonna say.
Okay, hopefully not.
Go ahead.
But just like turn off the noise and like get alone with your thoughts and like pray. That has been by far the biggest one.
Yeah.
I recently heard this. Kind of funny. I heard it on a podcast, but he said, for every hour of like learning and like listening, then follow it up with an hour of silence. So right, so every hour of like a podcast or like an audiobook, whatever, then do an hour after that of like letting it soak in. And I'm the opposite of that. I will like listen and learn all day long and anywhere too.
Yeah.
And so that was super challenging. And so like recently I've just been trying to spend a lot more time than normal. I'll like drive in silence. I'll like walk the dog in silence of just like thinking. Recently it's been thinking through this big decision. But yeah, dude, get alone, turn off the noise, think things through, and like pray in silence. I think that's for me it's been so helpful.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest one. I can't believe I forgot that one.
Yeah.
That and like writing things down have been the biggest.
I feel like we touched on it earlier in another episode, just about silence, and I don't know, maybe it was like the one about social media or something.
I'm sure we did.
But
it's
dude, I don't know what it's been, but like the last couple of weeks, I've been super like kind of over podcasts, ironically, just because I mean, for like the last couple of years, I've been listening to podcasts or audiobooks for like hours a day, and just felt so burnt out. Like it just felt like a drone, in my head going over and over and over again. And so I started taking the dog on a walk and either playing music, which was kind of just like, it's different. It's a little bit less, noisy in the way of like information, or just doing it in silence, or just like sitting out on my balcony and like eating my lunch without my headphones in, or, without something playing on the TV, or just, just sitting there and just kind of being alone with myself. Even if it's not in like the context of making a decision, giving yourself to the time to be silent in the space, the decisions will make themselves. Like you will come to the right conclusion, whether or not you're trying to make a decision or not.
Dude, this kind of funny. What I just shared, it came from a podcast, but the episode the guy was talking about like, because they were asking him, like they were interviewing this guy who's like pretty successful, and they were asking, hey, like what are your routines, like what do you do, blah blah, like, kind of like your tricks for success. And he said like the biggest thing he does is an hour in, an hour out for that noise I was talking about. And he said he just spends time like literally walking in silence, and like he'll do at least, I think he said 2 hours a day
Wow.
of walking in silence. And he said
That's a
in
lot.
that is a ton, dude. He said in that time is when like the majority of his thoughts come. So this guy has written, I think, 13 books, he said. And he said he like gave some number, I forget what it was. He'll spend like something crazy. Like he'll spend 30 hours before he writes a book. He'll spend 30 hours like just in silence walking. And he like lives in like nature apparently. So he'll just go walk.
He lives
like,
in nature.
Yeah, he lives like he lives in like a secluded
It's like the
area.
most like city thing I've ever heard. He lives in nature, dude.
He lives in the
You wouldn't
forest.
believe it.
He lives in a cabin out of
He
wood.
lives in nature.
He lives like in a secluded home.
Okay.
And he said like if I write a book, I will spend like 30 hours, like I'm making up a number, but I'll spend 30 hours like walking and thinking and kind of letting it all marinate and ponder, and then I'll spend 10 hours writing, whatever. I don't know. That's an example.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like that idea of like if you have like 4 hours to chop down a tree, right? You can spend the first 3 hours sharpening your saw, and then the last hour cutting, versus the whole time cutting and not getting anywhere. You know?
With a dull blade.
Yeah, and so like kind of that same like idea,
Yeah, very, 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 very underrated. I think it gives a lot more clarity in general. Again, it's kind of like that decision fatigue of just like mind and like thinking fatigue. Like you can't just always be taking stuff in or listening or being like consuming, on your phone or on the TV or whatever else. Like you need time to just be silent, be by yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I found like it really makes it easier. I mean, when you have more time like in silence, like your mind can like absorb more, and it can like rest and kind of take more in. So it really makes it easier.
Yeah,
So.
definitely. Cool. These are really good points.
Yeah,
I think that's a good one. Cool. Well, thanks again for listening. You can give us a 6-star rating on iTunes. Share this episode wherever you listen to your podcasts. If it's on the Apple Podcasts, if it's on Spotify, Overcast, Cast, I don't know. There's so many different podcast apps now. It's crazy. But share them wherever you'd like. Tag us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the things. You can always reach us at cultivateandkeep.com. And otherwise, we will talk to you in the next one. Peace.